morning, distinguished guests, innovators, and fellow advocates for a sustainable future. Look around the room. We are a gathering of individuals who understand that the status quo is no longer an option. For decades, our global economy has operated on a simple linear model: take, make, and dispose. This model has fueled progress, no doubt, but at a huge cost. It has driven resource depletion, generated massive waste, and fueled climate change. But we are here today because a profound paradigm shift is underway: the circular revolution. The transition is not just an environmental imperative, it is a trillion-dollar economic opportunity. Businesses embracing circularity stand to gain a competitive advantage through innovation, cost efficiency, risk resilience, and strong brand loyalty with conscious consumers. On behalf of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, this is Tina Joy, welcoming you to our annual Sustainability Conclave, themed Closing the Loop, Circular Pathways to Business Sustainability. To set the theme for the conclave, I now invite Mr. Anirban Ghosh, Head, Center for Sustainability, Mahindra University, and Chairperson of our Sustainability Committee here at the Bombay Chamber, to the dais. Over to you, Mr. Ghosh. A huge round of applause for him.
Good morning, everybody. So as I look at the room, I see many familiar faces and many faces I know who are working in the area of sustainability for a long time. So my big fear is everything I'm going to tell you, you know already. So this could well turn out to be some sort of a revision of things you already know. Just to get a sense, is there anyone here for whom sustainability is a relatively new subject? I've got one. Fantastic. This whole address is for you. Okay. So, the title for the conference, as you know, is Closing the Loop, Circular Pathways to Business Sustainability. Now, those of you who've been in this area for a long time, you've possibly started asking much deeper questions than, how can this be done? Like, I was having coffee out there, Ram was standing there, and I was asking him, what do you want to teach? He's been doing this for so long that now he wants to deal with the values and what brings this on. So Ram, the first slide is about that only. That what has got us to this place. So the things we'll cover: pathways to our predicament, need for circular economy, pathways to circular economy, examples of going circular, you might get bored a little bit here, research in circular economy, and pathways to business sustainability. I hope it'll make sense to you. So, what really got us here? Why is there such a big hangama about sustainability? Why is circular economy so important? So the thing is, one tacit belief, and for the majority the belief has not gone away, is that natural resources are abundant and free for exploitation. The fight between US and China is about using natural resources available to respective countries. One has oil and gas and wants to use it. The other has rare earth materials and various other materials and wants to use it. There is nothing else. It is not politics, pure economy. And if you continue believing that natural resources are abundant and free for exploitation, there are bound to be implications. But it's not only about natural resources. Our belief is that technologies, or has been till recently, don't have any environmental consequences. That you've got a technology, solves your problem, let's use it as much as we can. But that's how we all got here. We were all happy when we had diesel to run our vehicles, plastic for very many applications, so many problems we solved with plastic. But at no point in time did we ever stop and ask the question, okay, these are all the good things it does. Is there something that it does that causes harm? And maybe today we should ask that question of the new technologies we are adopting. Are we going to create that same cycle again, that we try and solve one problem and create 3 more? I don't know to what extent it will be possible to move forward, leveraging technologies in a manner in which, while we are solving one problem, we are not creating 3 more. For people, and this I don't have to explain to you, the fundamental way we work is that everyone doesn't have to be treated well. There are enough and more examples of this in the world. And if you want to play it safe, everyone does not have to be treated well all the time. And that then leads to various kinds of social disparities and inequity and so on. And the pursuit of the ultimate goal of life has so far, in large part, and continues to be, as I see in the classroom at the university, the pursuit of prosperity. Now, there's nothing wrong in the pursuit of prosperity. Of course, we all want to be prosperous. So there is a question I ask in class: how much money do you need to lead a comfortable life and do everything that you want to do? Maybe if I asked you the question, you wouldn't know the answer either. Because in the pursuit of prosperity, we never stop to ask how much is enough. When we did ask the question, how much is enough, we realized that many of us have more money than we can spend in the rest of our lives already. And we are still in the rat race, in the pursuit of prosperity. So if these are the tacit beliefs which are driving our lives, it is not unusual that we are facing these consequences. Each of these consequences is a result of the tacit belief with which we are leading our life. So uncontrolled consumption, uncontrolled wastage. And the bad news is that the more affluent we are, the more we end up wasting. Because we can. And the number of people who are becoming more affluent in the world, especially in India, is increasing rapidly. So obviously there's going to be more consumption and more wastage and more pollution and so on, unless we can find a different way of doing things. So if these are the behaviors and consequences of our beliefs, this is how we end up. And Stina mentioned it. All of you know take, make, dispose. I didn't want to write the words because everybody knows it. So I said, let's put some pictures. So what does dispose really mean? And that's what we have to put our heads around. That is what happens when we dispose. What do we do to ensure that this kind of disposal does not continue to cause the kind of harm that it has so far? So hence the need for a circular economy. You're all familiar with Earth Overshoot Day, except maybe it's coming to you for the first time, where a day on which we use up all the resources that an Earth can generate in a year. So the latest date is July 25th, and that then translates to the fact that we need 1.8 Earths to be sustainable. And you've also heard that famous quote that there is no planet B. So we got to do something about it. On the chart, you have numbers which are related to consumption today. This is the level of consumption today, which is resulting in the kind of pollution and waste that we have in the world. And this is an idea, one idea of the kind of pollution it's causing. The landfill area of the world is 30,000 square kilometers. Okay, this is what the internet tells me. It also tells me that it is very difficult to calculate, and this is an estimate on various assumptions. Well, so be it. You need a number to work with. And the annual increase is about 293 square kilometers. Numbers never have a meaning if you don't have context, so I've put the area of Mumbai city and Greater Mumbai next to it. So you can see that We have what, 50 Mumbai cities covered with landfill around the world. And we are kind of adding half a Mumbai city of landfill every year in the world. Right? This is the impact of all the consumption, all the affluence, and all the wonderful things that we are doing today. All right. So what then are the pathways to a circular economy? And all those of you who have dealt with in this subject have heard that there are multiple R's. When we started working, somebody said 3 R's, then somebody said 5, and then, faculty have this ability to modify frameworks, so someone made it 7. I've seen this number go to 14, and having looked at all of it, I've settled that this seems to be a model where each item is mutually exclusive but cumulatively exhaustive, and it's a good one to work with. But rather than look at it as 10 R's, there are just 3 principles. 1, reduce use of virgin material. 2, increase life of material in use. And if you can't do either, then extract the energy before you get rid of what you have. So these 3 simple things are a part of circular economy. If you do it well, you will do circular economy well wherever you are. The biggest one, the number of R's, from a number of R perspective, is obviously increasing life of material in use, where you have 6 of them. They're just different ways of making the life of the material that you use longer and not send it into a landfill or some water body. Okay. Having said that, here are some quick examples. You'll all be familiar. What I would encourage you to do is, as we are going through these examples, see if you can think of others. Because this is where the opportunity lies of doing things differently and not ending up with the landfills and the polluted water bodies and the air pollution and all of that. And you're going to hear a lot of these examples in the rest of this conclave from people who are actually trying to do things in a way in which the world is a better place to live. Okay, so refuse. One way of looking at refuse is obviously you say that I will not use. In our case, the most popular example is single-use plastic. Wherever you've been able to find a way of not using single-use plastic, you brought demand down and hopefully lesser transition to pollution. Rethink is more interesting from a business perspective because it gives you the opportunity to innovate in materials, innovate in products, innovate in design, such that your products post-use or even during use don't cause as much pollution, perhaps no pollution, compared to the conventional products that we use. Now, I could give you wonderful examples of rethink, but I thought the simplest one would be best, which is moving from a plastic toothbrush to a bamboo toothbrush, which is biodegradable. As probably all of you know, every toothbrush ever made on earth still exists on earth. So if you haven't made the transition to a bamboo toothbrush, you, despite being in sustainability, are definitely not helping the cause. Let's look at reduce. We know this technology of reducing water required for agriculture forever. It's a 50, 60-year-old technology. Yet penetration rates are as low as 12-15% in India. Clearly an opportunity to manage our water better, where 70% of all fresh water gets used in agricultural irrigation, and the technology of sprinkler and drip can bring it down by 30 to 40%. If we do nothing else but just do harvesting and move agricultural irrigation to drip and sprinkler, we will not have a water problem in this country for a very long time. Right? Of course, beyond that, I don't know. And then, of course, there is products which work hard to reduce the materials that are present in them. The automobile industry has seen lightweighting at scale. It has multiple benefits. It brings down fuel consumption, which therefore reduces air pollution and so on. But right away it reduces material consumed, and therefore all the energy embedded in the material is not required anymore. This is one example where the Ford Explorer's, Ford F1's weight was reduced by 300 kilos. May not be good news for the people who've set up recycling industries for automobiles, but it's the right way to go. And I thought of that only because Sumit has just walked in and he is championing the automobile recycling industry in the country. So reduce, couple of examples, I'm sure you've thought of more. Reuse, everybody talks about moving to reusable packaging, so nothing new at all. Repair, as you know, we are held hostage by companies like Apple to throw away products which can be easily repaired. And one of the big movements in the world is now the right to repair, and hopefully we will do what our parents and grandparents always did, was repair a product when it could be repaired and continue to use it when it is helping you and not harming the environment in any other way. In fact, I find it very difficult to get things repaired in Hyderabad, most probably because I live in a part of Hyderabad which is away from the Charminar and that area. So I brought my broken suitcase back to Bombay because it will get repaired in Bandra. And there is no reason to throw it away because the handle is broken. So repair, an easy way of ensuring that the material in use remains in use longer. Refurbish is very interesting. I don't know whether you ever bought a refurbished product, but if you ever bought a certified pre-owned vehicle, it's a refurbished product. Mahindra had a business called Mahindra Vishwas where we would refurbish old tractors and sell them to farmers. They would be much more reliable than the older tractor if you were to purchase it directly. Personally, I've bought a refurbished BMW, I've bought a refurbished Acura when I was in the US. I saw no reason why you had to buy a new one because they told me that the value of the car depreciates by 30% when you drive it out of the showroom. And once I heard that number, I just couldn't understand why I would not buy a vehicle which is a couple of years older, still has warranty, works perfectly, no discontinuity in design or technology. So might as well get a certified pre-owned. Of course, refurbishing and remanufacture was probably pioneered by these two companies, Xerox and CAT. And I'm saying probably because in Xerox in the 80s, we were looking at refurbished copiers. And they were the first to bring as a service where you paid by the copies you made and not for the machine itself. So Xerox and then Caterpillar has a very, very robust remanufacturing business, as does Cummins. So some of them have been able to make a viable business by selling remanufactured products. Recycle, we have Recycle in the room. He's going to be moderating the next panel discussion. Very interesting business, a digital marketplace connecting waste collectors, recyclers, and brands. And then you have TerraCycle, an international company, which, of all things, recycles cigarette butts, snack wrappers, toothpaste tubes, and Veolia, who many of us know are in the water space, but who also recycle metals, plastics, paper, electronics, and so on. Just look at the variety. All it suggests is that there is very little that you have to leave out of the 10R framework. And if we put our heads to it, there are ways of ensuring that consumption of virgin material can consistently go down over time, at least on a per capita basis. Repurpose, this is my favorite example. I don't know if you've bought agarbattis by Fool, which picks up waste flowers from temples and makes agarbattis and dhoop battis and so on. Just one example, but then there's so many more. Recover. So recover is when you have to get the energy out of a product, and the best place to go is a cement company. Prabodh here has probably burnt more contaminated Maggi than anybody else in the country, where when you didn't want to chuck the Maggi away, you extracted the energy out of it and used it in his plant. So a great way to recover. In fact, I know some of us had to work with the Pollution Control Board to allow us to send material to the cement plants so that energy could be recovered and we didn't send it to a landfill. In fact, it occurred to us then that most of our pollution control rules were exactly that, pollution control. And one of the suggestions we gave Niti Aayog was, why don't we morph pollution control into a circular economy promotion board? They will continue to do their pollution control, but the way they will look at the problem will be very different, and we can even look at all the legislations in pollution control and see what needs to be changed so that we are able to promote circular economy. Since so many of you are experts, you would have heard of that landmark place in Denmark called Kalundborg, where somebody's waste goes to somebody else. It's mighty difficult to reproduce. We tried in Mahindra World City. So I don't know how you're going to be able to reproduce a Kalundborg in other parts of the world unless there is enabling legislation and policies, and of course intent, desire, value, and all of that. So these were various examples, and I had to share with you an industry that Mahindra pioneered, which is organized vehicle recycling. You're going to hear more of this from the CEO of this business. And I'm hoping that this recycling business of automobiles grows for many, many reasons. Because we now have the opportunity to take polluting vehicles off the road and replace them with vehicles which are far less polluting in the course of their lifetime. You know, most of us have gone through, say, those of us who are, say, well beyond 50. Most of the times, there was no technology discontinuity in the products that we were using. So we had pumps and motors in our factory, which were 60 years old, and because we followed TQM policies, they were running just as new. There was no reason to change them. Till there was a technology discontinuity, and you had new pumps which had 33%, 40% greater energy efficiency. We junked the old pumps in a year's time and got some 800, 900 more. And those are the kinds of actions that helped companies in Mahindra bring their footprints down sharply and build a persona in the sustainability space. This transition to electric vehicles is another discontinuity. There are plenty, in almost every industry there is some discontinuity happening, and whichever organization chooses to leverage the discontinuity is likely to gain competitive advantage. Because at the end of the day, all these solutions will get adopted at scale whenever it makes economic sense. So the question we have to raise is there a solution that makes economic sense for the business and is great for the planet, and have we adopted it at scale or not? Don't worry about the ones which don't make economic scale today. They will tomorrow, then we'll ask this question of those technologies. That said, let me just share 4 big areas where a lot of research is happening in circular economy. But even as you're reading this, just as we simplified the 10R framework, we are trying to make more materials biodegradable. That's an area of research. We are trying to find bio-based materials which can be put into products. Just these 2 things are going to ensure that even if the products is disposed and it not put through the 10R framework, it will not cause damage to the environment. So these 2 are 2 big areas of research that's happening in various laboratories around the world. In fact, there is a center coming up in Mahindra University in partnership with Virginia Tech, where we are looking at what can we do with carbon dioxide, what can we do with methane, what can we do with various kinds of waste that are produced, which will ensure that these don't go and end up polluting the planet, but become useful in some way or the other. Perhaps the biggest breakthrough will come when we'll figure out a way of using carbon dioxide to make things which are at a scale which is economic. Because then we'll be solving multiple problems at the same time and dealing with the biggest issue that there is in global warming. So this is just a quick look at the kind of research that's happening in circular economy. And of course, if there is a pathway to business sustainability, it is through investment and through returns. So I went looking for what is the investment opportunity in circular economy. Every number was in the trillions. So whenever it, much before it reaches $1 trillion, I just conclude, okay, it's a big opportunity. And there are things to do over there. So I've shared some numbers here with you, which have come from various reports. But what is important is that you get very good returns from these investments in many places. Now, if you're in a company practicing circular economy in some way or the other, your returns are actually higher because in most cases your investments are much lower. So in our company, in the group, there was a time when the total amount of value we generated from the waste that we produced was about 35 crores. And this was essentially by selling scrap steel and scrap metal and so on. We not only, using circular thinking, increased that 35 close to 65 by simply deciding who we wanted to sell to and which platforms we wanted to use, but we also created value from the waste, which was another 25 crores odd. And one of our businesses figured out that what they were selling as scrap, the steel they were selling as scrap, could actually be used to make cores for small transformers. So suddenly this business had a new revenue stream. And all these things happened because the people in the business were looking at it from a lens of circular economy, sustainability, whatever you wish to call it, and what can you do with things which you would otherwise throw away as waste. So here, just in one business group, you have an example of working with waste, you have an example of creating a revenue from waste, and you have plenty of examples of reducing the waste and creating value all along. The total value generated from the waste that we produced, erstwhile waste that we produced, had reached close to 100 crores, and this is more than 5 years ago. So I'm sure the business has continued. All of you will have some opportunity or the other, especially those of you who are in manufacturing businesses. You just have to ask the question, what is it that can be done in my business where the waste is not getting thrown away, but some value is getting created along the way. That's what I had to share with you. I am dearly hoping that a little bit of it would have had some value for you, created some thoughts, and we are now ready to listen to the real experts who are doing stuff out there. Many of the examples I've shared with you, but there'll be many more because that's how the conclave was created. I hope you have a great day and enjoy the conversations that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. A huge round of applause. I would request you to stay back as I invite our Director General, Mr. Sandeep Khosla, to present you with a memento. A huge round of applause for Mr. Ghosh for a very insightful theme setting. Thank you, sir.